All right, welcome back to Political Animals. We're going to jump right into it again with the things that are going on in Venezuela. So, for anyone who wants to know what the consequences will be if Trump seizes that Venezuelan oil and American companies control it, as far-fetched as I think that is, but we'll talk about that on another day. If he controls it and tries to weaken BRICS, China and Russia, China has got something for their ass. And this is what I'm saying. China has already made legal contracts with Venezuela that have to be honored worldwide. They've given Venezuela loans and things like that in order for the trade that they have with the oil. And everything amounts to 10 to 19 billion dollars. So if the US wants to seize Venezuelan oil, China can't do much about that. They're not going to do much militarily. They can't put sanctions on them just for seizing it. But Venezuela owes the U.S. China 19 billion, and if the U.S. seizes it, the U.S. is going to be liable morally and legal wise for that 19 billion. We know that nobody could enforce the U.S. to pay back that money to China. So what they either have to do is to make sure China continues to profit off of that trade, or they're just going to say, we're not going to do it. What are you going to do about it? And China will not fight them militarily. What China will do is seize American assets in China, will stop trading cheap, or let me not use cheap because they're high quality, will stop trading inexpensive goods for America, and America will have to find another market for it, or they'll have to start paying Americans more, which they can't do. So that combination of seizing American assets all over the world is going to hurt the rich big time. And also putting trade sanctions on the U.S. is going to cause inflation in the U.S. I don't think Trump is going to do that. And to be personally, I think Trump just did this to have a win, just to take Maduro out, because we're not going to talk about it today. But if you look at what's going on the ground with ships still moving in and out from Russia, China, and all of the world, nothing has changed structurally in Venezuela. Trump says he's going to do it later. I doubt he will. They've showed the colectivos on the streets now with machine guns going from house to house looking for who are Trump supporters, threatening to kill people and threatening to rise up if U.S. tries any type of control over the country's resources or over its presidents and stuff. And their constitution says they have to have an election, so that if Rodriguez cowers to Trump, she's going to lose her position either by she's going to be killed or she won't be reelected. But let's get back to track. So what we're talking about is what China will do. So all I'm saying is it's going to be business as usual. Trump has taken out Maduro, but he doesn't have control over the oil and resources. And if he dare try to do that, it will lead to a situation in which China will ask for its $19 billion back. That won't happen, and they're going to inflict a lot of pain on American companies and on the U.S. taxpayers through inflation, not to mention the fact that it will just isolate the U.S. more, because China will start finding other trade partners, selling their inexpensive goods to other people, and other people will have less trust in America, and America is going to be closed out economically, and BRICS money is going to become more stronger because people will know it's not reliable to do business with the U.S. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Yes, you've said everything I wanted to say, so I think we could just close and just have a cup of tea and some
basically, just double up on it.
I'm just joking. But seriously, I mean, this is where power comes for power. And everyone has been distracted by the threat of Russia being able to overthrow Europe and America, bouncing up and down. But at the end of the day, what really matters is the money. And the money comes from the economics and manufacturing industries and those that are generating wealth. And the main generation of wealth in the world right now from the manufacturing industry that the world is dependent on is China. China is like a giant panda. It doesn't even have to, it's like a lion facing an elephant. If America is a lion, China is the elephant.
Yep.
You know, they're like, okay, I don't have teeth, but I'll just sit on you. Because America cannot dominate because they don't have anything beyond weapons. And weapons alone do not a modern industrial manufacturing economy make. No. And China's money and power is just going to be far too much for America to be the dominant force that it had always dreamt that it would be able to bring itself back to be by the use of Dunroe doctrine, which is basically Monroe doctrine, which is basically gunboat politics, which is basically
controlling the Western Hemisphere. Yeah, the small South American countries.
Yeah, of might is right. The other doctrine of might is right that I know of was Adolf Hitler. You know, when you go around saying, oh yes, Maduro was a fugitive of our laws, so therefore he's a fugitive. As might is right. Because if you didn't have the guns and the weapons to take him, you couldn't do it. And so don't talk to me about your morality. The only reason why you're talking is because might is right. I don't want to hear anything that's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's going to stop America from this mad dominance is they're going to be totally economically destroyed. Now, all this great, problem number one, all these advantages that America is getting from Venezuela, I very much doubt, and this is the biggest problem, that is going to be
They haven't gotten them yet, though, but we're speaking theoretically. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Theoretically, the American people are not going to have a better life because of what's happening in Venezuela financially. The people that are going to benefit are billionaires and big business and individuals. So that money is not coming to the American people. Still good. And this is the thing that I feel about the American people. They weren't bothered before when they were benefiting, but now they're not benefiting and it's only big business. Now they're in the same boat as the third world and global south and as ordinary people. And it's just like 20 individuals in America that are benefiting from this nonsense and their cronies and their tag-alongs. And so for that reason, it cannot possibly sustain itself.
Yeah, and right now they're not even benefiting from it yet because the amount of money, like you said, that oil is so raw and crude that it takes a lot of process that they have to do. It would be an investment in which they most likely lose because they try to dredge up that oil, the collectivos and all the things. It will cost so much money. So what they're really gaining from this actually is just a short-term money from the military exercise. They're not even gaining profit from this because any future earnings they would make from profits are 15, 20 years down the line, which is why I say this was never really about controlling their oil, because if it was, then they're stupid, because if they don't have the analysis to realize that you have to process, especially since Venezuela's crude oil is very crude. It takes too much money and things like that. So what they're doing now, they're probably stealing barrels of oil. But at the same time, China's still getting its oil, and Russia. So these barrels of oil that they steal, it might add up to a couple of $1 billion for these companies. But like you said, it's not going to help America at all. And we also see that the American military might is gone down too, because they didn't do a ground war against Venezuela. They paid off some of these Venezuelan people. Yeah, and also
just if you're good enough, even a small country can do that. If you're clever enough.
But Venezuela didn't fight back, and it's either two things. Venezuela decided not to fight back because losing Maduro doesn't lose the whole country, and it would have been futile. It's just like when you do war games, check games. Maduro is vulnerable, but most likely what happened is he was betrayed by somebody in Venezuela. If not the vice president, it was maybe his security guard. But I mean, his security, because they've already fired the chief security person. So what I'm saying is that they couldn't even do it the proper way by doing a land invasion. Because if they did a land invasion like they did in Iraq, then they could hold on to those oil fields and control the country. But what they did was an overnight, surreptitious, CIA planned kidnapping of him, which is not even really strong military force. This is actually more of very good CIA covert action. But that type of covert action doesn't change the country structurally, which is why they're now saying, oh, if she doesn't agree with us, we're going to bomb her. I've looked at what's on the ground in Venezuela. There's too many resistant people. If the U.S. tries a ground invasion, it's not that these people will beat them. These people will cause chaos, and it will cause a prolonged war in which many Venezuelans will die unless Americans will, but they still won't be able to get that oil because the country will be disrupted and Trump will be impeached. Last thoughts, Kunle.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the oil is low quality, and it's not really worth the fight that they're doing. It's more about exertion of power. And this exertion of power has now touched the big
it's exertion of yellow tea label lovers power.
And now they have to.
Yeah. It's not just an exertion of power.
And now the nonsense has to stop.
Yeah. It's going to stop. Yeah. And I'm going to give credit to the president. Yeah. Go ahead. I'll let you finish. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I'm going to give credit to to the vice president of Venezuela, because what she's doing, I don't want to call her a coward for not fighting, but she's walking a tight line. She's not going to descend that country into total violence like Vietnam just to prove that you're going to resist America. What she's done is she said, okay, you've stolen our president. He's still our president. We're still going to work with you diplomatically to sell you oil, just like we do with China and everybody else. And a lot of people say, well, that shows she's weak. But at the end of the day, it's not yet time for an all-out revolution and war until the U.S. makes it clear that they're going to try to use overall force rather than diplomacy. What are your thoughts on that? And then we're out. Yeah.
I think the Venezuelan people are going to tear that woman apart like warm bread if she starts making deals with Trump. She better be very.
Well, I don't think she's making deals, but what I think is that she's not saying. Yeah, she's not making deals, but what I'm saying is that
she is making deals. She's offering to concede $50 million barrels a day to.
No. Trump said that. No, she never said that. She never said that. Trump said that. She never said that. Trump is saying that we have to get the fact. Yeah, Trump is saying that they're going to give her 50 million. She never said. If she did, I will agree that right now she's being too conciliatory. Okay, but I'm saying she's doing that right now. For several reasons, maybe. I'm not saying this is right. To buy time so they can get their
arms. She'll be fighting a war on two fronts if she's too conciliatory.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to fight a war on two fronts.
Yeah. Trust me, she is not going to, but she might be doing that playbook where you look conciliatory, but meanwhile you're building up yourself and preparing. Especially, we know that there are people down on the ground from Russia and China that are planning things covertly too. Trust me, those collectivos, the millions of them, are not sitting down just saying, oh, come and fuck us. So what she might be doing is being friendly and being strategic. But if she's not being strategic and she's being a little biatch, they're going to show her what a real batch is. Like you said, finish that thought about they'll tear her.
It's going to tear her apart like warm bread. Yeah.
Yeah, they will. She has no choice. In fact, she has no choice but to fight.
Careful.
Yeah, same thing with Zelensky. If Zelensky signs an agreement with Russia, the Azov people will kill him.